guest is someone I met through the power of networking, luckily, and immediately thought she has to be on the show. She spent over a decade building a career at Randstad and AMS, and two of pretty big, impressive names in our world, and got all the way to EVP, managing nine-figure portfolios, leading client strategy across the Americas. And then not too long ago, she walked away from all of that. Let's be real, a door was opened for her and decided to bet on herself. She launched her company, AVENNI Consulting, and is building something on her own terms now. She's also, and this is one of my favorite parts, a theater major turned IT recruiter turned global executive, which honestly explains a lot. And she is absolutely perfect to highlight on Out of Line. Please welcome Kim Kelly. Hey, Kim.
Hey, Tiffany. Thank you. That was so lovely. I appreciate it.
You got it. You got it. I'm so glad that you're here. Learning about your background, it's just so fascinating to me how people get into staffing. And this is just so cliche of us, like how we're starting this. But nobody ever dreams of being in staffing. And to see you, a Northwestern grad, a theater major, and then end up in that world is just fascinating. But let's take it back a little bit. Where did you grow up? Let's talk a little bit about the very beginning.
Sure. Well, and before we even do that, I do want to just comment on the fact of like you said, how we came to know each other and just the power
Yeah,
of what happens when you say, that's someone that I want to meet. And then happens. And then you just instantly are like, this is right. Like we should figure out how to do something together.
totally agree.
Networking is a real thing. Don't be scared of it. It's just talking to another human, right? Like that's all it is.
And Kim, you're the ripple effect of somebody I think I met probably 6 months ago, right? And there's
Mm.
been a chain. There's probably been 27 people that I met to get to you. It is so powerful.
I know. Totally agree. I agree with you too. So I am from Colonial Westfield in New Jersey, and I
Love
am
New
back here,
Jersey.
and my 23-year-old self is mortified that I live back in my hometown because it is not cool. It is not happening. It's a nice place to raise kids, and that's why I'm here. I'm also here
Yeah,
because
good.
I live only 7 minutes from my parents, and I literally
That's
could
huge.
not have my career without my mom. It's
Hmm.
Women's History Month as
Hmm.
we're recording this. I know where people aren't going to hear this until next month, but I think it's a great
Right.
moment to shout out just the power of women supporting women. And not everyone has the gift of a mom or a
Yeah.
parent to do that. And I feel so grateful because everything we're going to talk about today is only because I've had her in my corner. So
Oh,
full stop on that.
yeah. Similar for me too. Single mom. Couldn't have done it
Yeah,
without her and my stepdad. Yeah. Yeah.
it's amazing. It's totally amazing. Like the fact that I could pick up and go travel all over the world for business meetings and conferences. And I always knew that my mom had my back and my kids had their bananas and yogurt and
Yeah.
got to daycare and did all that stuff. So yeah, it was very cool.
How old are your kids?
So my kids are, and really that's my best job title. Like, let's be honest, it's the best
Great.
one.
Yeah.
My daughter's 14. She's a freshman in high school and we're really good
Wow.
friends. And I'm really grateful for that. And then my
Oh,
little guy is
oof.
going
That's
to be
amazing.
11 next month. And
Wow. So
he
similar to mine.
pushes my boundaries.
I have a four. Oh, I bet. I bet. And it's definitely different being a boy mom than a girl mom.
The same spot.
And yeah.
Yeah, there's
Yeah. Yeah.
a lot of hormones, a lot of dirty socks. I can never
Oh,
find
yeah.
dishes. They're all in his
Right.
room and her, like,
Right.
but there's, you know
Right.
what, like there are days, and I wonder if you relate to this, that there are days through my career, and especially right now in this launch cycle where I get up because of them. Like they are my
Mm,
why. They are always my
yeah.
why as to want to be better, do better, expand, grow. I want
Yeah.
them to see what it looks like to have a mom who can show up for them, but also show up for herself.
I love that. And I think did you go through any guilt about working so much?
I mean, I think it's like it comes like they give you the baby at the hospital and they hand you a bucket of guilt with it. Like I think it just comes together. I remember I was actually recently telling someone this story. I remember my very first business trip after Anya, that's my daughter, was born. So she
Beautiful
was,
name.
I don't know, she was little. She was maybe 5 months or something like that. And it was a team leadership meeting at this big hotel in Atlanta. It was for Randstad. And I excused myself at one point and I went into the hotel lobby bathroom and I
Hmm.
sobbed because I just missed my baby. And how was I
Yeah.
going to do this? And when I
Yeah.
walked back out to the conference room, there was another business leader there, a woman who I respected, who was ahead of me in life. So, she's gone through, her kids were older, she'd had experience with that.
Yeah.
And I just looked at her and I was able to have emotion in a safe space with another professional
Mm.
woman who said she's going to be okay. And
Oh, yeah.
for some
She
reason,
knew.
that she's like, okay, all
Yeah.
right, you said she's going to be okay.
I can relate. I can relate. It's such
How
a
how have you
I mean,
managed
it's just
through it?
so, I talk about how I just don't believe in work-life balance. I think it's just a circle. It's, you gotta blend your worlds. And when my kids were little, I traveled a lot too. And I became a single mom when they were like 3 and 4, so tiny. And so I was relying on my parents a lot for help. And it was even from a young age, I talked to them about my job. I talked to them about, of course, in a different voice, probably in different words, but I told them where I was going and what I was doing and why. And I've never stopped that. I didn't realize what I was doing at the time, but I just always wanted to have that communication with them. And what I've found is really helped me cope with that guilt of leaving them. And we have such a strong relationship now. Like we don't have any friction if I have to travel or if I'm working all day long. And I think it helps them step up a little bit too. So it was something just so unintentional that I did early on. And I reflected on that and I thought, man, and I asked my youngest son one day, what do you think about me working so much? And I mean, sometimes these kids amaze you, like what they say. And he was so mature about it. He said, Mom, like, I know, you've got to provide for us and we get to do cool stuff because of it. And it just made me feel so much better. Not that the guilt ever goes away, but that's kind of like how I've really tried to manage it. But again, it was so unintentional. And now I'm like telling people about it. Like, just bring them in. It's okay, because you've got to do it. And if you miss something, because you're going to miss something, then at least
Yes.
they're not confused or angry or they might be disappointed, but there's a better level of understanding if you have that communication and relationship. So let's
I
go
am.
back again. But you were a theater major, so I'm assuming you did that in high school too, something that you loved. What did you want to do with that, and
Oh, I
how'd you end
did.
up in
Yes.
Northwestern?
Well, that's actually my dad. My parents are from Milwaukee. And now
Okay.
that I've got a daughter, doing the college, beginning to think about college, I was telling her the story recently
Yeah.
about how grandpa and I went out to Chicago and to Evanston to see Northwestern because I'd started going to see schools and I was trying to give my parents an idea of what it was that I wanted. He said, I think you might like this place. So we went out there and it was in the summer. Newsflash, Evanston, Illinois in the summer is very different than Evanston, Illinois in December.
Mm,
I did still survive.
yes.
It
Okay, good.
it was just a place I just got there and I was like, "This is where I wanna be." Like, it was the perfect place for me. It had the
Mm,
theater opportunities, but it still was really focused on intellectual advancement outside of theater, and it was close to a big city, but it wasn't in the big city, and I actually applied early, decision, and I was accepted, and I
okay.
went. I was saying to my daughter over the weekend, I'm a really successful person, and I'm incredibly lazy, and what I mean by that is
Efficient.
it's very
You're efficient.
efficient, perhaps that's what it is, efficient.
Yes.
Because I was like, "I love this school. If I could apply to this and not have to apply anywhere else and just get in, like, let's just do that." So, that's what I did, and it worked out, and I had a really great time there. I learned a ton, and as we were leaving Northwestern, as we were graduating, I was taking my first gig was in Boston, working in production for a traveling theater
Okay.
company, and I had a couple of friends who were all like, when we're established and we're old," which probably Tiffany old means, like, whatever this is now, right? Because I was 21 at the
Right.
time.
No, exactly.
When we're old, we'll do theater together and it will be great. So it was always this like future thing.
Mm.
And as we
Yeah.
were going through our first year out of college and we're all kind of doing our thing, and one day it was just, why are we waiting? Like, let's just do this now with all of the lack of fear and boldness and courage that you have at
Love it.
22 because
Yeah.
why not? You can do anything. So I moved back to Chicago and we started this theater company. And I've been kind of
Mm.
reminded recently as I've been launching AVENNI that I've done this before, right? That like this idea of
Oh, yeah.
building something from the first document, the first playbill, the first website, the whatever it might be, it's just in my DNA. And so I did that for a number of
That's
years.
great.
It was awesome. I had the best time until I just wasn't having the best time anymore. And
Mm.
I
Why do you
decided
think that
that
was?
and the reason why I wasn't having the best time, you can be very successful in theater and movies and TV and you could also have a lot of odd jobs while you're going
Mhm.
after that career. I
Right.
cleaned people's houses. I supported artists in doing work that they had to do. I did odd jobs. Like I did a whole bunch of different things to pay my rent. And while I loved my theater, it was awesome. But as soon as I was like, I don't know if this is really fueling my
Mm,
12 other odd jobs,
yeah.
it just
Gotcha.
wasn't right anymore.
Yeah.
I had this moment in front of the DSW on what was it? Elmont and Clark in Chicago. I'm sure it's not there anymore.
Okay.
And I'm standing in front of this DSW with $20 a
Mm,
long time ago, but still, it was $20. And I was like,
right.
I need
Right.
like 3 different pairs of shoes, but I can't buy 3 pairs of shoes. How can I find a pair of shoes? And granted, these are still really like I had $20. I had shoes. I had a place to live. I had
Mhm.
food. Like I was just
Mhm.
fine,
Right.
but it just wasn't what I
Right.
wanted. Like I wanted
Yeah.
more for myself.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely the stability and the financial aspect of it, especially as you get older, really starts to play an important role more than when we were young and we had the luxury of having fun with what we did.
Yes. Yes. So, I mean, the good news is I never have to say I wondered what it would have been like if I had started that company because it happened and
That
it was great. And
is
after I left, the
incredible.
company went on for a number of years and like won awards, and the team did
Wow,
fantastic and they've continued to be successful in their own spaces. But that's how I accidentally
that's
became an IT
amazing.
recruiter because I posted my resume online,
Okay.
career builder, monster. I'm dating
Yeah.
myself,
Yeah.
and I got hired as an IT recruiter with fax machines and files, paper
Oh,
files. We
files,
had those.
paper applications, had to meet
Yeah,
people in person or
the whole
not
thing.
never see them on the phone. And IT
Yes.
staffing is not easy. That's a tough one. So did you like it right
Yeah,
away?
I liked staffing because I was making a regular paycheck. And for the first
Mm.
time in a long time, I wasn't working on the weekends or at night. Like I got up,
Ooh,
I took the train,
yeah.
I got into the office at 7:30, I left at 6:30. Like I put in long days, but my evenings were free, my weekends were free, and they paid me. I was like, this is awesome. But
Yeah.
I also
Yeah.
liked it because with staffing, it's about hearing people's stories. And the
Mm.
part that's tricky, right? And I remember I had a manager early on in my career with staffing that said, the part that gets tricky with staffing is that staffing is a sales business, right? It's a sales business. So every
Mhm.
person you talk to, you can't
Yep.
give a job to, no matter what is
Right.
happening in the marketplace, right?
I love that perspective, and it's one that some just don't understand. Or, I've hired a lot of recruiters over the years and found that the ones that just want to help people are not a good fit because they can't
No, they're
ever
not.
see through that candidate that is the right match because they're a jerk. Or, something that didn't sit well with them, or the person that has a sad story, but has, terrible skill sets. So yeah,
Right.
that's a interesting perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a journey, right? Learning about business. Like
Mhm.
that's, but what was interesting though is I realized how much I knew about business as I was transitioning into staffing. Like I
Okay.
had set up budgets. I had managed revenue streams from box office sales. I had paid vendors. I had
Mm,
negotiated contracts with vendors. I
yeah.
knew a lot about business, and
Yeah.
I stepped into this space with not just that business knowledge, but also the creativity and the ability to listen to nuance
Right.
and to put together puzzle pieces that made me a really unique match for
Yeah.
what it is that we do.
Well, especially being able to turn yourself into an actor. Because I've always said that when you're selling and you're recruiting, you got to turn everything off and
Hmm.
focus on the person in front of you. You've got to make the connection. And some days, if you don't have that, acting twitch,
Yeah.
I think that probably really helped you because you had that skill.
I mean, I used to say, I feel to some degree, I still feel it's the same thing. It's like I've had the same job since I left college. It just shows up in different
Right.
ways. But like you said, it's
Yeah.
always you're taking on a persona, you're figuring out who your audience is and how you need to tell them the story, what's going to resonate with them. You got to change it for the next audience.
Yeah. I just met with Tom, the Tom from Tom Safakis. I think
Yeah,
you and I were talking about his podcast.
yeah,
He was in
yeah.
theater too. He wanted to be a screenwriter, ended
Yes,
up
I
doing
noticed that as
theater,
well.
was an actor.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, yeah, something to it. If you can't make it in acting or
Something
if
to
you're
it.
burning out, get into staffing.
Say it
I was
again.
in retail. I said if you're not making it
Well, it's the
in
same thing.
acting, great transition.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It is. It totally
I was
is.
in retail, and it resonated with me when you said I didn't have to work weekends anymore or nights. And I think that was such a luxury to me. But anyway, So you so the
No,
IT
1,000%.
recruiting, yeah.
Yeah.
So how long did you do that, and then what came next?
So I did IT recruiting for 6 months. I had said early on that I wanted to get into account management, and I was told by the leadership that that's not our process. In order to become an account manager, you have to be here for a year as a recruiter, and then you can go through a process. And
Good, okay.
rules don't apply to me, so I did not like
Love
that
it.
answer, right?
Yeah,
Um, and I know I definitely got my nose all out of joint about it, but I showed up and I continued to do the thing, do my recruiting, do what I have to
good.
do. I have to say, I think it was like days later, because I had raised my hand and said, I want to go into account management, that an opportunity became available in our office in Chicago where they needed an account manager who was local. And so I think that's just my call to action of when
Yeah.
you have aspirations, when you want to do things, especially as women, because men will often go forward and say what their goals are before women,
Yes.
and women need to
Yes.
say their goals. And because I put it out there,
Yeah.
they knew to come to me when this opportunity became available. So I became an account manager, still in the IT space, but I became an account manager at
Right.
6 months there. And so I learned a lot. It was an intense client. It was
Mm.
like boot camp, but it
Oof,
got
yeah,
me
I bet.
ready. And then from there, I
Good.
was in account management for a long time. I went from regional account management to national account management. At that point, with the same company, I moved back to New Jersey, which was great to have that opportunity. I worked from home before working from home was cool. Like I've done it my whole
Mm.
career practically. I then had the opportunity, and again, had the opportunity, asked for the opportunity of going into global account
Yeah.
management. And I did global account management where I was managing IT clients and systems integrator clients, and responsible for building strategies and creating opportunities for the group of business that I was with within my clients. And it was really cool.
Oh, that's great.
I learned a lot about selling. I learned a lot about generating opportunities in existing accounts. I learned about
Mhm.
cross selling through different silos of business. Every
Yeah.
company has silos of business, whether it's functional silos or business unit silos. And that is a really important skill.
Okay. And all of that from you coming up and saying, "Hey, I wanna be an account manager." I mean, think about
Yes.
where you would be if you didn't have that conversation. And, I think that
That's
I've been
really
in that
humbling. I
position.
haven't thought about that.
Yeah, if you just didn't have that one conversation, where would you be today? Oh, it's
I probably would have
I think
honestly, I
that
would have left and gone to another company,
because you didn't weren't getting
and
your
because
promotion. I think that happens a lot. I think that happens and too probably with women because we don't speak up. And I think something similar would have happened with me because when I was working for my staffing company, we were growing and we didn't have roles. We didn't have anywhere to go. But I saw an opportunity. I said, "Hey, I think we need some training here." And they turned me down originally. We weren't ready. And instead of
yeah.
quitting, I heard the same thing. I was like, "No, it's not right now. It's just not right now." I didn't like it. And they ended up offering me the position. And I just think if I hadn't said that, if I hadn't, and I do you think too, Kim, that it's important to have the street cred? Like you have to have been good at the job, I think, to throw your hat in the ring or to speak up. I think it has to be the right time.
I agree with you. I think you have to do a good job in your current role, because if you don't, why is anyone going to give you a different role? And if they do, it's
Yeah.
probably not a great idea. So I was performing well. I had closed deals before anyone else had for my tenure. Like I've done a lot of things. So I think it's that part. And then as after that first step, which was really built on my actions, my continued
Hmm.
growth and movement was also
Right.
built on my actions, and organizational savviness becomes very important. And what I mean by that
Hmm.
is knowing not just your manager, but the managers around you, the managers above you, the people in the C suite, paying attention, because decisions get made when you're not in the room. And we all know that.
Hmm.
You want to be
Yep.
part of the decision that's happening when you're not in the room. Someone has to take your name into the room with them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. So fast forward, um, tell me then what was next for you, and I really want to get into talking about what happened, your transition, opening this new business. So tell me a little bit about what was
Sure.
next.
So I had this opportunity to move into the outsourcing division of Randstad, which was fantastic. It was really exciting. It was big business, multiple countries, recruitment process outsourcing, managed service provider work, total talent. And I really loved my time in that role. That is one of my great
Mm,
prides is how that division came from being an idea to a really thriving business entity. So I'm very proud of how that took place.
yeah.
How I've gone from there to where I am now is that I had a chance to work for another organization also in outsourcing, learn some really incredible ways of operating, ways of thinking, ways of analyzing. As you shared in the intro, I had a door open for me that allowed me the
Yeah.
opportunity to find a new path. And I
Yeah.
think that it's those critical moments where you go, okay, I can find a path. I can either embrace the path or I can be I can be made small. And
Mm,
I choose embrace the path because being made small is just not productive, right? Being made small, and it's what other people do. It's not what I do. Oh,
yeah.
I've had this opportunity over the last 9 months or so to speak with a lot of fantastic people in our industry as I started to
Mhm.
create what this path was going to look like. And one of the things that just kept coming up is the fact that our teams, and not just in our industry, this is definitely systemic across business today.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying anything that people aren't going to know, but maybe
Mhm.
sometimes when you hear it in a different voice, it resonates in a new way, right? So there is this moment happening where people are grasping and struggling to endure. And because they're
Mm.
enduring, they are getting tired, afraid, small,
Yep.
and that is
Yep.
turning into decisions that are not growth, productive, performance based. We're finding that business is not continuing to grow the way it needs to. So,
Yeah.
AVENNI was created out of the need for resilient leadership. And the fact that resilient leadership is different than endurance, and it's a focus on
Mhm.
self awareness, which allows you to drive better decision making and successful performance.
That's fantastic. That's powerful. And thinking, pressure, especially as a leader or a business owner, it's one of our guarantees. I mean, that's
Of course.
most of what it is. So how do you walk me through, a business that you would be helping? What are you doing with, is it their leadership team? Is it the founder, the CEO? Tell me a little bit about the process.
So there's a few ways that I work with teams. I think the most effective way is when whoever is the head of the team, whether it's the CEO or whether it's specific for the IT organization and it's the CIO who wants to bring their team together. But when we start with the most senior team member, the ability for things to become systemic in your culture becomes much greater.
Yeah,
And so it's a matter
absolutely.
of going through as a team and identifying on an individual basis first. The first part is working with the
Mhm.
individual on what are the items that are standing in your way right now of success? What are the decisions that you need to make? So in order to make those decisions, let's start here with an inventory of how you're showing up. Are you showing up in a
Mhm.
way that is filled with joy, a way that is filled with awareness, a way that has a net of people around you that you know that you can do this? And if you don't, let's start there. Because if you can fix
Okay.
how you're showing up, you can then change the decisions. And so then it
Yeah.
becomes creating a culture of knowing when we get into those moments of we're not making a decision here. Either we're circling the drain, which happens all the time in businesses, or hey,
Mhm.
we made a decision,
Yep.
but what we're actually doing out there is not the same. You have this shorthand to go, okay, are you working from resilient leadership? And here are the steps you need to take to get back to resilient leadership so that we can then as a team move forward.
Mm. So how do you identify these companies to work with? Or how and let's talk about both, and how would they know that they might need your help?
Yes. So the good news is that there's probably not a company right now that can't benefit from resilient leadership. But what that really
Mhm.
means, and
I would agree with that.
the companies where if you're going through uncertainty because you've just laid a bunch of people off and you don't know how you're going to get things done, you've been told you have to implement all of this generative AI, but it hasn't gone from the boardroom to the desk level. You have
Mhm.
a piece of business that you are a product that you're ready to launch, but you can't figure out how to get it from idea to build out to the market. Any of those are really good organizations that are probably stuck in some fear. And I think we talk about fear, not I think, we talk about fear as if it's bad. Fear's not
Hmm.
bad. Fear means
Yeah.
you're in a situation you haven't been in before and you have to make a decision to move forward. That's all fear
Yeah.
is. It's not a big deal. But what is a big deal is when that fear has you making decisions based on activities that are not people focused, culture focused, and driving behaviors
Yeah.
of intuitive decision making.
Yeah, I love that. I think, those desperate times, if you don't figure out and still focus on your long-term strategy, you pay for it in 90 days, you know? Like everything you do today impacts your future business, your future team, your future self. And, that's I'm thinking about that with my business now. And I'm building, a pricing structure and which is challenging. And I think, well, I just want revenue. Like, I just need the revenue right now because I'm brand new. I want it. But I know the value of my product. So as I'm going through these motions, I'm thinking, okay, not everyone's going to buy because not everybody's going to be able to. But that doesn't mean that I should, lower my price point because that also lowers my value. And then I'm stuck in that loop. So although I might be able to get the revenue tomorrow, eh, that's the desperate, that's the fear. And yeah, I'm scared. I'm, I'm fearful of what's going to happen and when is it going to come in. But I think what you're saying is you've got to focus on just that long term. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. And man, this is tough. You're very brave to take on, I think, this business, and it's a business that I think anybody, like you said, could benefit from. How do you? This is a mindset shift for
Mhm.
people. And that's, I think, one of the hardest things for a business owner or somebody who's kind of stuck in that cycle. How do you turn that around? Because that's fascinating to me. And like I said, it's very, like, takes a lot of courage to put this as your business. So, how are you changing that mindset for people?
Think the important part of that sentence is how am I?
Hmm.
I'm not. And what I mean by that is I have a framework that I have
Hmm.
used personally for myself. I use it like today. I was talking with one of my accountability coaches and talking
Hmm.
about how I don't want to do something today, but it doesn't matter that I don't want to do it. It needs to be
Yeah.
done today. So my
Yeah.
action and my thinking don't have to, like, as long as my action is the thing, doesn't matter what I think.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's like when my son is like, I don't want to clean my room. I'm like, well, it's okay. You don't want to. So my role in this is you're coming to me, client. We found each other because you have tried the
Hmm.
same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And we know what that's a definition of.
Hmm. Yep.
If you don't, it's insanity. That's the definition.
Thank you.
And
Just in
you want to
case.
try something new. You want different results. So if you want different results, there are different actions that need to take place. And the good news is that each one of those actions starts with the individual. And it also
Mm,
doesn't have to, this is not ideal, but if you work for a company where your leadership team doesn't want to lead with resilient leadership, but you do,
mhm.
you can take this as a leader and do this work and make this work something that you bring into your team. Because the best way to make change is by people seeing it and going, I want what they have.
That's a great perspective. How long are you working with companies now? And we should, this is brand new for you, right? You've been doing
It
this over
is.
the last few months. You officially launched publicly, right, in January.
Yes.
So when you
I
work
announced
with a
publicly in January. We've got a big launch party in April, which is really exciting
oh,
to get some energy
that's a
around, which
great
I'm excited
idea.
about. Yep. Thank you. Thank you.
So tell me about that.
I,
That
which part?
Tell me about the launch party because I think that sounds really interesting. And maybe I should have done that.
It's never too late. You can always have a launch party. Honestly, like launch, pre-launch, post-launch, just what I love about this launch party is that it's giving me an opportunity to bring this keynote that I've developed to a group of people in an environment that's celebratory. And I'm using it as
Mm,
a few things. One, to ensure that people are beginning to hear about how this messaging is happening, right? Like, and that's what needs to
yeah.
happen. Two, material keynotes are only better when people give feedback. So this is a specially curated group of friends and business contacts and connectors and people who I know will give me constructive feedback as well as tell me that I'm
Mm,
awesome because it's nice to have a balance.
yes.
And then the third part is really about being able to create the referral network so that we can continue to grow from here, right?
Yeah.
As you know, with a new business, you're nothing but the people who know what you're doing so that you can then build it out. And so my initial consulting and workshop engagements are between 30 days and 90 days. So it depends what level of
Okay.
engagement people want. If they want engagement that's very structured for a finite period of time, if they want greater access to speaking with me and working through this both as an individual and as a team, those pieces. And then honestly, one of the most important parts of this practice is really beginning to be part of speaking at events, which is another big part that I'm beginning to calendar out here through June.
Great. I am so excited for you. What a great way to get the message out and just have a fun time doing it. I love it. So tell me about the keynotes. This is kind of that's your premiere, it seems like. And let me make a comment first. You had mentioned, we had talked earlier, like you're successful. And something that you said just now tells me why. And I don't think we start out that way, right? But I think you have a quality that not a lot of people have, and that is humility because
Mm.
you are going after constructive feedback. You said that first before you even said I want them to tell me I'm awesome too. And I think that that alone is what helps develop success over time. Yearning for growth and more knowledge and how can I be better. So kudos to you for that quality.
I have to say that it is a learned quality through a lot of struggles,
Fair.
right? Which is why my keynote is about turning struggle into success. That
Mm,
when I lead with self, nothing good comes of it. That's been my
okay.
experience. Yeah, I
That is very true. You lead for a bigger cause. And I think that's what you just developed with your purpose.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, so your keynote, let's talk a little bit more about that. Leading through struggle. Did I get that right?
So the title of the keynote is "The Problem Isn't the Pressure, It's How You Lead Under It, Turning Struggle into Success." And
Turning
the
struggle into
purpose
success.
of this, yeah, the purpose of the keynote is to really talk about my own journey where I've had a couple of really critical moments in my
Mm,
life, a couple of health issues that have happened, a couple of family
mm,
changes, which honestly is no different than anybody else, but it's what you do with it. And
right.
so my message is that when these moments happen, how do you get more informed so you can become the next best version of yourself? And I know that if I did not have the struggles that I had, going back to what we were talking about in living in Chicago, and if I hadn't lived in Chicago, because I could have gone home, I could have gone home, I could have lived in New
Mm,
Jersey, I could have lived with my parents. I didn't want to. But that also meant that I had to work 12 different odd jobs to pay my rent,
right.
and I ate a lot of rice and beans.
Yeah.
I walked a lot when I ran out of bus fare. That's just and
Hmm.
none of I mean, that's just those are things that formed my ability to be creative and to push and to come up with things. And how do you just take any of those moments and turn
Yeah.
them into who you're meant to be next?
Sounds like a lot of humbling experiences and very relatable because you're right. It's probably, I think for me, business is so different now. I think the culture of business has changed to be more accepting of flaws and, oh, I have this personal life now. Like I am a mom. We embrace that a lot better. I think COVID had a lot to do with that. We got very emotional
I was gonna say the
during
same
and
thing.
after
Yes.
COVID, right? And 20 years ago in business, I wasn't talking about any of my struggles. I had a wall up. I wasn't, letting that down and showing weakness. And now I think too, it comes with age, but those
Yes, that is the gift of
experiences,
aging. And what are the gifts of aging?
yeah, a lot of gifts with aging.
Mhm.
And I think now I look back and I see that was the weak way and the strong way is to let your guard down and be open with people. And I think that what you're doing to promote that is a really powerful thing for business. And you're, I think, humanizing the leadership aspect, or humanizing leadership for people that probably haven't opened their eyes to that side yet. They're still maybe a little rigid or, leading with that wall up. So I think that is just a huge benefit. Um, absolutely love the concept of what you're doing.
Thank you. It's definitely the intent, and the research
Mm,
shows that leaders who take time to to practice gratitude, to practice joy, to spend time with others, those leaders are going to be more centered. And if you're more centered, you're going to make better decisions. All of this, like, I don't do anything without cash and prizes. Like, I just don't. If I will not do something just because it's good for me, you
Right.
know? And
Yeah.
so the whole reason to focus on the idea of self awareness, the idea of intentional decision making is that it will allow the person who engages with this to show up in a
Hmm.
way that whatever your goal is, if you want to run better profits, if you want to launch a bigger product, if you're leading a team of volunteers and you want to get them to move forward to carry out a mission, this work allows those outcomes to come to life.
Yeah. So, Kim, what would it takes a lot of guts and resources and um, just overall strength and work ethic to open your own business, especially one that is conceptual like yours. But overall, what advice would you give somebody that doesn't think it's possible for them to do what you're doing?
If I go back to 6, 9 months ago when I started a lot of my conscious conversations talking with different business owners and business leaders, all within our industry, there were a few times people said to me, "Why don't you just open your own shop?" And my response at the time had been, "I have kids, I have responsibilities. That's something I'll do in 15 years."
Oof, okay.
And looking back at it, I realized I never said I didn't want to. What I said
Mhm.
was I was afraid. I
Mhm.
used different words, but that's what I said.
Right. Yeah.
So when I got to this moment of starting this business, I think the first part is when you get that moment of intuition that what it is that you're like, that moment you're in of like, this is what I need to do, listen to it.
Yeah.
Be creative, because the reason that I came to this moment of this business is that I really sought out wanting to be able to bring this message of resilient leadership. So I started to seek out how
Mhm.
to best present keynote speaking opportunities. And in doing that research, I thought, well, this is a business. And then I thought, this is a business. I mean, the best
Yeah.
way to get the message out that I want is through this. So that means to for me, having a passion about it, because if you don't have a passion out of it, I'm not going to self motivate. Again, if there's no cash and prizes, I'm
Yeah.
not doing it. So there's a
Right.
lot of self motivating. There's a lot of time by myself in this room, and so
Yeah.
pushing away the fear. So taking the action, even though I'm scared, knowing that I have no other choice because I really want to get this message out. And how can I get this message out?
Mhm.
And I have an army of people in my network. I have people that will take my call when I get confused about what to do with pricing. I have people that I call when I can't figure out how to use Canva. I've
Right.
got a group of accountability leaders. There's 3 of us, 3 women. We get together on Monday mornings at 10 a.m. and we talk about, this is what I said I was going to do last week. And either I did it and I didn't
Okay.
do it. And why didn't I do it, or did I do it? And then this is what I'm doing this week. Takes us an hour. We each take our turn. And that's what we do. And it keeps us on track.
Love
So
it.
those would be the 3 things. Take the action no matter what, have a passion, create a network.
Yeah. And I love the accountability group. I think that's
Yeah.
not something that I've done yet. How do you think uh, how does that change your behaviors throughout the week?
Do things because I have to tell people I'm going to do them,
Right.
right? It's like
Yeah.
I have a coach at the gym, and she's brilliant, and I go because I tell her I'm not going to go. I mean, I told her I'm going to go, so I show up, right? These women,
Yeah.
because I know I'm going to see them Monday morning at 10 a.m., I sit there and I go through my list and I make sure I get the things done that I said I was going to do. Like, it really keeps me on track, because just being
Yeah.
accountable to myself, it's lonely. It's lonely to be accountable to yourself. And it's not realistic, I don't think.
Oh, yeah.
The person that I will make up excuses for the most is me.
Mm,
Regardless of whatever it is, whether it's getting the website launched on time or it's drinking water before coffee, like, I will make excuses for myself before anybody else.
now that's
I am working on the
self-aware.
water before coffee. That's self aware.
Yeah.
Yes.
I haven't gotten there yet. How do you juggle all of it? As being a mom and, we talked a little bit about this, but really, how do you structure yourself to fit everything in?
Back to what you were saying about it's more of a circle than a balance, right?
Mm,
So it's not work life balance, it's this
right.
blend.
Right.
There's a couple things that are non negotiables for me. Like, I have to be up, showered, and ready to work by 10 a.m. Now, that might sound really late, but the reason
Mhm.
why I pick 10 a.m., and sometimes
Right.
it's earlier, but when I have my kids in the morning, I'm mom. Like, that is my one job
Yeah.
is mom. So I get up,
Yeah.
I sit with them, I'm just available, even though they want nothing to do with me sometimes, like, I'm just there and I'm available.
All right.
And that way, because for me, what drains my energy the quickest is the swivel chair, right? Like, when I have to be mom and then work and then mom, like, I get
Mhm.
so exhausted. So if I could just do my mom job
Yeah.
and then my work job,
Right.
and then I tell myself, I have to log my time every day, and I have to know what are the things that I'm going
Mm.
to get done that day. And the way I decide the things I'm
Yeah.
going to get done that day, and this is old school recruiting. What's closest to the money? That's how you run a desk. You're like, okay, do I make calls for new candidates, or do I pitch the candidates I have to, and it's like, what's going to get you the money first? And
Oh, yeah.
a
Yeah.
friend of mine just told me this. She's also a successful business owner. And she said sometimes the thing that's closest to the money might still be way in the future. Like, some days the closest thing is networking or
Right.
prospecting, and that's what I need to do
Mhm.
that day. So every
Yeah.
day I've got to do something the closest to the money. Every day I need to spend some time gathering thought leadership because I need to be 10% ahead of where I was the
Mhm.
day before in what's happening in the research.
Yeah.
And every day I need to spend some time just building my network of people. The thing that is not, the thing that has to be super consistent for me is the money stuff, because that's the stuff that I'll always like put off till last. And really, it's like the first thing that has to happen. It's like, this is my money day, an hour at this
Yeah.
point. Like, that has to be there, but the rest is fluid.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that crazy how we do that? I don't know why we do that.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. And
How
then,
did you come up with the
sometimes
name?
though,
Keep going.
how did I come up with the name? Oh,
Yeah, we can go
but
back
just
to that.
about that,
Finish your
how the
thought.
blend happens. There was, I had an event for one of my children last week that took me out for several hours on a
Mhm.
Friday. And so that meant on Sunday night, when nobody wanted anything to do with me anyway, I got some work done. I did some research, got some things
Yeah.
happen. So it's about, rather than be to saying to myself, I work these 5 days and I don't work these 2 days. I go, these are the things that
Mm.
have to get done in the week. And where does it best fit for me and my family to get those things done? And when I
That's
shifted
great.
that, I'm not angry that if I'm working late at night or a Saturday or a Sunday,
Yeah.
because it's just the things that have to get done. And these are the choices that I made.
Yeah. Yeah.
The name of Venny, I wanted to, as I was thinking about a name, I wanted to have a name that for me reminded me of my kids. And so I spent
Okay.
time with their names. My daughter's name is Anya. It's Gaelic, Aine.
Beautiful.
And my son's name is Finian. We call him Finn.
Wow.
And
I
so
love
I
it.
spent
So
time
cute.
with all those letters, and a Venny was
Ah,
born. The V is sort of a bridge between Anya and Finian. And that is,
okay.
so for me, it's honoring and remembering my why.
Ah, that's beautiful. And I love
Makes
the
me
name.
happy.
The name turned out to be very beautiful, and it's
I know, I
got
was
great
so
meaning
pleased.
behind it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah,
Thank you.
I was curious about that from I was like, "I never heard of that. Is that a real word?" And now it is.
It is now.
Yeah. So Kim, man, I'm so pumped up. There's people that can drain the life out of you, and there's people that can get you really excited. And you're definitely the latter for me. I've loved our conversations. I love
Thank
what
you.
you're doing. I think that you are a phenomenal mom. You are a hard, smart, strategic worker, and I see nothing but success for you in this business. And I love that I got you on here in the beginning, because now when you're super famous and doing, the TED Talks, you can come back and we can do this again.
I love that idea. I like the manifesting of it. That's perfect.
Yes, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
by then, I will have been acquired, maybe. So I'll be doing the
Yes.
podcast full time, and
Yes.
yeah,
I love
we'll have
that.
this success. Well, this has
Awesome.
been so much fun. I've learned even more about you. Very inspirational. You have some fantastic advice. Companies are going to get such value if they follow through. If they follow through with with what would you say, guidance, consulting, training? What would you call it?
It's a framework. It's a framework for
Framework.
resilient leadership.
So if they follow through with your framework, they've got nowhere to go but up. So thank
Absolutely.
you for being here with me, Kim.
Well, thanks for having me. It was great.
Best of luck with your launch. And where can we find you? Is your website up yet?
AVENNIconsulting.com.
Fantastic. We will link that below, and also anywhere else to find you so people can reach you. Thank you, Kim. This has been so enlightening. Best of luck to you and your business.
Thank you to you too.
Thank you.